I woke up before the alarm. The house was quiet, too quiet. The kind of silence that presses on your ears, makes you think you forgot to breathe. Outside, the streetlights still hummed, throwing pale orange shadows across the front porch. I hadn't slept much. Tomorrow was the anniversary. I was going to take fresh lilies to Henry's grave, just like I'd done every year since he passed. I had ironed my dress, set the flowers by the door, even packed the small tin of lemon cookies he loved, because I still like to leave them by his headstone. Silly, I know, but grief makes habits feel holy. And then the knocking started. 3 heavy pounds. Pause. 3 more. It was 4 a.m. For a moment, I thought maybe I'd dreamed it. But then came the voice, hoarse, panicked, trembling. Eleanor. It's me. Open the door. Please now. I grabbed my robe and shuffled down the hallway, my heart hammering. When I opened the door, my neighbor stood there, Sarah Wilkins, from 2 houses down. She was still in her nightgown, hair wild, eyes wide. She looked like she'd seen a ghost. Sarah, I whispered. What on earth? She gripped my wrist, cold fingers shaking. Don't go to the grave today, she said. Promise me you won't. I blinked at her. Sarah, you're scaring me. What's going on? She looked back toward the road, then leaned closer. They're out there, Ellie. Right now. They're moving things around by the old chapel. I saw trucks, lights, some kind of crew. They said they're reworking the site before dawn. Reworking? I asked, confused. The cemetery? She nodded. They're taking down headstones. Shifting them. My stomach tightened. No, that can't be right. There's no project like that. Sarah cut me off. My cousin works with city maintenance. He said it's private contractors. Something to do with the land rights. Said they're putting up a new memorial before sunrise. One with the mayor's name on it. The room seemed to tilt. Henry's grave was in the old veterans section, city-owned, technically, but untouched for decades. He'd served quietly, without fanfare. Never wanted honors, just peace. What do you mean a new memorial? I asked. Sarah swallowed. It's called the Dawson Freedom Monument. They're dedicating it this weekend. The papers already printed the story. But Ellie, Henry's plot, it's right in the middle of it. I stared at her. No, I said. They can't. They already are. For a moment neither of us spoke. The porch light flickered. Somewhere down the road, a truck engine rumbled. Finally, Sarah whispered. You can't let them do this. But don't go alone. They're not expecting anyone to fight them at this hour. I looked past her, toward the horizon where the sky was just starting to pale. My pulse thudded in my throat. I have to go, I said. She shook her head. Ellie, I have to. I grabbed my cane, my coat, and the old shoebox I kept under the hall table. The one with Henry's letters, discharge papers, and the yellowed Polaroid from the day he came home. Before I stepped out, Sarah caught my hand again. They think you're too old to stop them, she said. That's their first mistake. Then she turned and hurried back into the darkness. Before I tell you what happened next, please, if you believe truth still matters, and that the quiet voices deserve to be heard, hit that subscribe button. Every click tells this old woman someone's still listening. The air was sharp and wet. I could smell rain coming. The cemetery sat just a mile down the road, behind a row of magnolia trees that had grown tall enough to hide the gates from sight. As I approached, I saw the lights first, bright white beams cutting through the dawn mist. 2 trucks, an excavator, and a group of men in vests clustered around the west side of the grounds. They were talking, laughing even, as if they weren't standing among the dead. I walked past the fence, my shoes sinking into the soft grass. One of them noticed me and straightened. Ma'am, this area's closed, he said. I kept walking. Another one moved toward me, clipboard in hand. Hey, this is a restricted zone. You can't. I stopped at Henry's plot. Or rather, where it used to be. The headstone was gone. Just a rectangle of raw, turned earth, and beside it, a large concrete base waiting to be set. I could see a bronze plaque on the ground, half covered by a tarp. The name on it made my throat close. In honor of Charles Dawson, the man who built our city's legacy. Dawson. The mayor. Henry had once worked under him, quietly fixed his plumbing, patched his porch. The man had shaken his hand, thanked him for his service. And now he was burying him under a lie. I bent down, brushed my fingers through the dirt, and whispered, "I'm here, love." When I stood, the foreman was approaching, frowning. "Ma'am, you can't be here. This is city business." "This is my husband's grave," I said. "And you're standing on it." He hesitated. I'm just following orders." "Then unfollow them," I said, my voice shaking but steady. "You don't build honor on stolen ground." For a second, no one moved. Then, slowly, I stepped in front of the machinery. If they wanted to pour their foundation, they'd have to pour it over me. They didn't finish that morning. Someone made a call. The trucks idled, then backed away. I watched them drive off through the fog, leaving the field half dug and silent. But I knew it wasn't over. By noon, I was in the archives room at City Hall. My hands shook as I flipped through the old records, land deeds, transfer notes, the kind of paperwork that hides sins under signatures. And there it was. A recent change, Plot 47B, temporarily reassigned for civic use. No mention of consent. No mention of the family. Just a signature, Mayor Charles Dawson. Beside it, another name, Eleanor H. Dawson. They'd used my name. My signature. I felt sick. The next week was a blur of lawyers, calls, silence. They said it was a misunderstanding, that the forms were automatically processed. But then came the press release, bright and polished, announcing the unveiling of the Dawson Freedom Monument on the very soil that raised our city's finest sons. They had taken Henry's story, erased his name, and carved someone else's on top of it. I tried to sleep that night, but every time I closed my eyes, I saw the empty earth. So I did what I'd never done before. I fought. I sent the papers, the forged deed, Henry's service record, and a photo of his original headstone, to every journalist in Nashville who'd ever written about politics. And I waited. 2 days later, the first headline appeared, "Mayor accused of claiming war hero's grave for personal monument." Then another. And another. The story caught fire. News vans crowded the street. They wanted interviews. They wanted tears. I gave them neither. I just showed them the box, the letters, the badge, the marriage certificate, and said, his name was Henry Price, not Charles Dawson. That was enough. Within a week, the city launched an investigation. Funding froze. The dedication ceremony was cancelled. The contractors were subpoenaed. The mayor resigned. And for the first time in months, I slept. A year later, I stood again at the cemetery. The grass had regrown. A new stone stood there now. Simple, small, but right. Henry Price, 1942 to 2019. Beloved husband. Quiet hero. Beside it, a single bench. On the backrest were 6 words carved into oak. Truth waits longer than power lasts. Sarah came to stand beside me, hands folded. "You did it," she whispered. I smiled faintly. "No. He did. He just needed someone to listen." We sat there until the sun dipped behind the trees, and the air filled with the sound of crickets and faraway traffic. That silence, the kind that hums with peace, not fear, was worth every sleepless night. Because sometimes the quiet ones aren't weak. Sometimes they're just waiting to be heard. Thank you for staying with me through this story. If it moved you even a little, please subscribe to Grandma Untold True Stories. Every time you do, you tell the world that truth still matters, and that the quiet voices are never truly gone.